Dear friends, oh, I see people are still coming. Yes, but if you allow me, we will start our procedures looking to the time. And I see that we are in proper mood. Extremely nice to congratulate you after New Year with New Year, those who not receive our congratulations on postcards, our hearts, from our hearts to your hearts. It's just sending our best in the new year. And especially very glad that we have together Secretary General next to me, and of course, our key instrument in our parliamentary activities, Despina. And I would like to say that floor is open, session is open, and I would like to invite you to listen to my few-minute speech, and after that to go to the usual procedure of credentials. So, if you allow me, I'm choosing like a long-standing member. Don't mix that with senior membership, but long-standing member in our parliamentary assembly. I would like to start with that today, dear friends, we have Day of Unity of Ukraine, and we just stood with many of you in the front with the chain of unity among us, unity of integrity of Ukrainian territory, and I try to see where is Ukrainian delegation. I would like to congratulate you. Oh, here, yes. I would like to congratulate you in this great chamber of European Parliament. And now is our chamber with the Day of Unity of Ukraine, meaning Ukraine is united and Europe is united behind you. Congratulations. Yeah. And of course, I was trying to vent to all delegation, including Maria Mezentseva. But Ukrainian men, women, and children are standing up. Madam Secretary General, like, will be now 2 years for our values by defending democracy with their very lives. This is a most tragic moment when we are just commemorating 2 years of Russia aggression of Ukraine. And for us, it will be extremely important to commemorate not only bravery of Ukrainian soldiers who are defending European line of European values, but the lives of women, men, children, especially children, who were killed by flat bombing, by mass killings in the occupied territory of Ukraine and in the free territory of Ukraine. And I would like to ask you, if you allow me, for one more symbolic gesture from our 46 delegations to keep a minute of silence and to stand up to remembering of those thousands and thousands of killed innocent people when dictatorship invaded democracy. Thank you. The same time, when I have additional few minutes, I will remember that today we will elect our new president, and I will say thank you for the outgoing president. I cannot see where is Tini Cox to say thank on front. Never asked me to do that, but I am doing that, saying to you in all name of all of us, thank you for defending our values. And after that, I will remember that we will, in a few minutes, we will elect a new president of our great assembly. At the same time, I would like to mention that among thousands and thousands of political prisoners, we have the man who was always with us, and especially Secretary General in our Committee on Human Rights. His name is Vladimir Kara-Murza, who is put for 25 years in prison for trumped-up charges in the kangaroo court in Moscow, to send to Siberia. Now is in Omsk is minus 19 grade Celsius, and he is in special cell. And his health degraded, and well, he was permanently member of our assembly, if you remember, through last years and years. I would like to share our solidarity with him. In this strict regime colony, after two times Despina, he was poisoned before that. So the enemies of democracy tried to kill him, and he is in terrible worsening health condition. I'm taking the luxury of being here in the front, like longest standing member, and asking all our executive governments try to do everything about all our political prisoners. We have all lists in our Human Rights Committee of tortured people in a big number of countries, but in this special case, remembering that he is a British citizen, Vladimir Kara-Murza, I would like to ask British ambassador to our great parliamentary assembly, who is now sitting with us, and our Committee of Ministers to concentrate on that, if possible, to do more, trying to liberate him. So you see that dictatorships are more mobile, making rapid decisions, bringing ammunition from North Korea, being in the intelligence joint ventures in all possible places of the world. So we, democracies, should be making our speed in the front of their dictatorial mobility more effective. So our democratic space in the world cannot shrink, and we cannot be, Madam Secretary General, lonely, looking to the massive offensive and massive attack from dictatorships on our side. So, and we should be battle ready. I'm sorry that's using in parliamentary assembly military terms, but we should be battle ready, not looking to the distance from the dangerous east border, meaning Russia, not being in some distance like Taiwan in front of China or North Korea, but we should be battle ready. So I'm so glad to remember that we voted all in favor for our first resolution on the beginning of the mass offensive of Russian troops to Ukraine. If you remember, the sense of first our resolution reacting after 24th of February 2 years ago was very simple: to help Ukraine with all possible means, means we should be ready to fight in the newspapers, in our interviews. We should be ready to fight for democracy and human rights on every stage, and to be more effective. We cannot let dictatorship win. So in this case, I would like to say that we should switch to our other point. It means to our challenges of our to delegations, and I would like to ask you to concentrate on that. So the sitting is open, and I would like to ask you if some credentials are challenged or not, and to start the procedures. Well, we have some notes. So let me have a few words more. The first item on the agenda is examination of credentials, and the name of representative and substitutes are in document 15896. If no credentials are challenged, the credentials will be ratified. Are any credentials challenges? Thank you.
Mr. Little-Granger.
Yeah. Ms. Ledley, I should finish. That was my paper who I should finish that. Thank you. And you are probably letting me do that. Thank you. Dear friend, Little-Granger, the floor is, the floor is open for you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. We challenged the German credentials on procedural grounds. The German delegation, I'm afraid, is in violation of Rule 6.2a. This rule obliges national parliaments to ensure fair representation of political groups and parties in their parliaments. In the composition of the delegation, Resolution 1798, paragraph 6.7, calls for political balance that needs to be kept. The balance is not kept within the German delegation, with the inclusion of Mr. Junco and Mr. Dagenem, I'm sorry if I got his name wrong, I apologize, as members. It is contested where they have been legally elected to the Bundestag because the political group, the left, I use the English word there, has ceased to exist in the Bundestag. They are not part of any group, and they might not be represented thus. It is against the rules of procedure to include them on the German delegation. By rejecting the credentials of the German delegation, the Parliamentary Assembly will therefore help the German delegation to ensure there is fair representation on the groups in accordance with Rule 6.2 and full compliance. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Thank you, dear friend Little-Granger. Now I should remind the Assembly that under Rule number 7, a challenge must be supported by at least 10 members of our Great Assembly from at least five national delegations present in the chamber. Would those members supporting these challenges please rise in their places and remain standing while we check whatever the requirement is met. So we need to do that, and we need 5 delegations and more, like 10 members and more, yes.
We just count Poland, UK,
I'm sorry for keeping you staying.
Germany, please help me. Germany. I see Poland, Romania, UK, Germany. Can you help me? Belgium, probably?
There are 2 gentlemen.
Yeah. So, do we have the 5? Okay. Then you go.
Yes. We can declare
Yes, you read.
Yes. So I would like to say thank you for staying, friends. Now you can sit, and we just counted that the challenge has the support required by the rules of the procedures. Accordingly, the credentials of the German delegation are referred without debate to the Committee on Rules of Procedures, Immunities and Institutional Affairs. The committee shall report within 24 hours, if possible. That is the procedure. I remind you that members whose credentials are challenged may sit provisionally with the same rights as other Assembly members until the Assembly has reached a decision. However, those members shall not vote in any proceedings relating to the examination of credentials which concerns them. So I'm going, yes.
This phrase, please.
Are there other challenges, sir? Yes, I see the hand of Mr. Schwabe. Yes, Frank, the floor is open.
Thank you very much, dear President. Under Article 8, I challenge the still unratified credentials of the delegation of Azerbaijan on substantive grounds. Unfortunately, I see no other chance than to send this clear and unmistakable signal now. There is not only a dramatic escalation in domestic politics with more and more political prisoners. There is not only the violent displacement of more than 100,000 people in Karabakh, Nagorno-Karabakh. There is a direct responsibility of the Azerbaijani delegation for the fact that our rapporteurs were unable to visit the Lachin corridor, or political prisoners at least 3 times in 2023. The negative highlight, however, is the non-invitation of the Council of Europe to observe the early elections now for president in the 7th of September. This is a clear and unforgivable break with all the rules of cooperation and an attempt to undermine the Council of Europe and play it off against other international organizations such as OSCE. I ask all of us for a clear answer.
Thank you, Mr. Schwab. So you challenge the credentials of the Azerbaijani delegation on substantive grounds, yes? On substantive grounds. So under the Rule 8, your challenge must be supported by at least 30 members from at least 5 national delegations present now in the chamber. Would those members supporting this challenge please rise in their places and remain standing while we check whether the requirement is met?
You can continue. It's clear. It's clear.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I'm just informed by Secretariat that the challenge has the support required under rules of procedures. The credentials of the Azerbaijan delegation are referred without debate to the appropriate committee and to the Committee on Rules and Procedures, Immunities and Institutional Affairs for opinion. So I would like to propose the appropriate committee, in this case, monitoring committee. The committee shall report with the upcoming 24 hours, if possible. Is there any objections to proposal that the appropriation committee, in this case, the monitoring committee, will be like our committee to evaluate the case?
No.
No. I remind you that members of the national delegations whose credentials are challenged may sit provisionally with the same rights, it means in the chamber, as other assembly members until the assembly has reached a decision. However, those members shall not vote in any proceedings relating to the examination of credentials which concern them. So, friends, that's it with 2 challenges. And now my question to you sides are procedural. Are there any other challenges? Colleagues, friends, it's not the case. It's not the case, yes. So now we are going to the other item who will be probably show our possible expression of our political will is the next item of the agenda is the elections of the President of the Assembly. I have received one candidature, that is Mr. Theodoros Rousopoulos, member of the Greek delegation and Vice President of the APP-CD group. The names of those members who have signed the support of this candidacy are contained in the document 2024/03. So, looking to the common voting procedure, I am supposed to declare Mr. Rousopoulos as elected President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe for this ordinary session. Mr. Rousopoulos, I would like to congratulate you. I'm sorry, I should know where you are. Stand up. Yes, I should congratulate you on the elections. Yeah.
If you go down,
Yes.
you must be there and they will greet you.
Yes. Probably, procedurally, I should hug you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuelis. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, chers collègues, chers amis. Somewhere amongst us in this plenary is my good friend, Lord Leslie Griffiths, from the United Kingdom, who has many decades of life experience behind him. I'm sure that he will be surprised by my referring to him now, but allow me to complete my sentence by saying that on these same benches is our younger colleague, Max Lux from Germany. The rest of us stand somewhere between Leslie and Max. We have each followed our own path and have lived our own experiences. We have each, to a greater or lesser extent, been hurt by being in politics. We have struggled under adverse conditions and have been equally disappointed if, at some point, we found that we could not help our fellow citizens as much as we would have liked. Some of us more and some of us less fortunate, but all of us in this hemicycle for the same purpose, prompted by the same ideas. We believe in human rights. We believe that life has the same value for everyone, and we believe in the need to respect the particularities of every culture and every person. We serve humans and their dreams. And if you find this introduction more emotional than formalistic, let me remind you that the father of ethics, Aristotle, said that the highest goals towards which man strives are fulfillment and happiness. But how much happiness do people enjoy today? We all witnessed the savage, merciless, and unjustified attack by Russia, which was then a member of this council, on a free country, Ukraine. Since then, Ukrainian citizens, and especially children, have been suffering, living every day in fear of death, rather than in hope and happiness. Dear colleagues, our Council is confronted every day with a lack of concern for human rights, with oppression caused by the lack of democratic ideals, even in countries that democratically elect their leaders. We are not here to threaten or wag our finger at anyone, but we are here to remind all our member states and others of what democracy means and what democracy needs in order to thrive. We are here to remind them of what they have signed up to in ratifying the European Convention of Human Rights and all the many other commitments they have designed and created together. Friends, in this milestone year for the Council of Europe, as we celebrate 75 years since its foundation, let us be mindful that our Council was born out of the need for unity among people after the Second World War. Let us be mindful that no member of the European Union has ever been admitted unless it was first a member of the Council of Europe and respected its principles. That great leaders who inspired and guided it in its early years are not merely some black and white photographs hanging in the corridors of our iconic building. Nor is the Magna Carta a museum piece behind the window that we pass by on our way to the plenary. They are instruments of memory, and our guides in the day-to-day work, which may at times seem bureaucratic and dry, but which nevertheless has the highest of aims at heart, the reaffirmation of the principles established by the pioneers of a united Europe. Dear colleagues, chers collègues, sur la place Kléber, ici à Strasbourg, une foule immense s'est rassemblée pour écouter Winston Churchill s'exprimer en français en août 1949. I like to imagine that among the assembled crowd listening to Winston Churchill in Place Kléber, there was perhaps a woman pregnant with twins, a girl and a boy. This woman would have been watching the speech and happily waving the flag of reconciliation and hope. Her children, the boy and the girl, would have been born into a world of poverty and hardship, but they would have grown up seeing that inequalities between the genders were slowly being reduced. They worked hard to live and build families that would live in peace. But in their lifetime, they have seen new wars raging on our continent and the long period of the Cold War. This boy and this girl would surely have traveled and seen new horizons open up before them. They would have seen technology open up new opportunities for them. And today, after a long journey, these twins who were in their mother's womb at the historic Place Clembert gathering are now 75 years old. And they want in their golden ages to live in peace and freedom with their children and grandchildren. My wish is that if these twins walk today past our building and the European Parliament building, they will feel the same hope, anticipation, and determination that their mother experienced in 1949. Let us not disappoint them. Dear colleagues, chers collègues, I will not surprise you if I tell you that during my presidency, Ukraine and securing accountability for the horrific crimes committed on its territory will be my main priority. The European leaders in Reykjavik last May underlined their commitment to this same goal and laid down a clear roadmap of the challenges they see before us. Allow me to highlight just a few which are particularly close to my heart. The first concerns the problems and dangers that may arise for democracy from any indiscriminate expansion of artificial intelligence. AI is to be welcomed, and it must remain a tool to assist human capabilities and not a substitute for human will and autonomy. The second is the urgent need to agree upon how best to protect our fragile environment. My own country is witnessing the ravages of climate change in real time, and we must act. The third challenge relates to social, professional, economic, and other gender equalities which have not been eliminated to the extent we would like. We must continue this struggle until the equality we all desire is achieved. It is also a priority for me to work towards even greater visibility for the Council of Europe among its member states and the rest of the world. Not visibility for its own sake, but so that we do here is taken up and multiplied by governments, parliaments, civil society, and citizens. Dear colleagues, I have been honored to be a member of the Council of Europe since 2019, when my dear friend Dora Bakoyannis, head of the Greek delegation, proposed that I should join our team. I thank both her and all of you for entrusting me today with the great responsibility of the presidency. I am succeeding a man whom I hold in high esteem and to whom I wish to pay tribute today for the way in which he has directed this assembly over the last 2 years, our dear friend Tini Cox. Tini, in his inaugural speech 2 years ago, said that he would walk in harmony with everyone, the Committee of Ministers, the General Secretariat of the Council, the General Secretariat of the Assembly, the heads of the political groups, and with every single MP who wanted to meet with him. I promise to continue on the path of synergy on which Tini has worked so hard and which certainly has borne its fruits. Leaders of the political groups, Frank, Davor, Ian, Julian, Andrei, thank you for your unanimous support. I am certain that we will have a fruitful collaboration. Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Maria Pecinovic-Buric, I'm looking forward to working with you in the coming period. Secretary General of our Assembly, Dr. Despina Hadjivasiliou, I thank you for your valuable advice over these years, and I know that together we will continue the good work you did with Tini. Alexander Pocei, until recently President of the European People's Party, thank you in particular for what you have done to ensure that the EPP works closely with the other political groups in a spirit of unity and responsibility. I would especially like to thank the Greek members and delegation who have supported me all this time, despite the fact we belong to different political groups. I have to stop at that point because I'm afraid if I go on, it will sound a bit like the Oscar ceremony. But what an omission it would be if I didn't make a special mention of my two children, my wife, her mother and my siblings, who are, along with beloved friends from Greece, standing by me today, as they have done over many years. Many thanks are always with them. Dear colleagues, let me conclude my speech by summarizing in a few words my own political philosophy. As in any parliament, battles are fought within this assembly, but our weapons are not bullets. They are merely the words that combine to create arguments. Sometimes I know that words hurt just as much and can be used to break our opponent's spirit. Let us remember that words, too, are often the best, sometimes the only, way to heal wounds. Disagreement should bring us to the discussion table, not the battlefield. So let us talk about the words that bind us together. Let us try to get back to their original meaning. Let us not forget that we are here for the oppressed and not for the oppressors. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, allow me to invite outgoing President and dear friend Tini Cox to join me here. My friend Tini, when you took over as President in your first speech and on several occasions since, you have pointed out that we should try to make this assembly not like a gladiator's arena, but like the Agora of Athens, where democracy was born and dialogue was a tool used to create and promote the ideal of freedom. Thinking of this, my gift to you is a 19th century German engraving representing the Agora of Athens, so that you will always remember how you have indeed succeeded in your dream of making our assembly resemble the Agora of Athens. Now I have to go on my duties.
Yes, I would like to invite you to take a seat and using the time and using my liberty before your coming, you just mentioned the legacy of Athens, the great Greek democracy legacy. So probably we should remember together the legacy of Sparta in this challenging time and the famous battle created by Sparta against enemies of Greece in some time ago. So let's unite at Athens with Sparta legacy. Thank you.
So it was like reconciliation between Sparta and Athens 2,500 years later. I hope we will manage to solve the issues that I already mentioned earlier. So, dear colleagues, the next item on the agenda is the election of vice presidents of the Assembly. 18 nominations for vice presidents are listed in document AS 2024-01. If there is no request for a vote, then will be declared elected. Since there has been no request for a vote, I declare these candidates elected as vice presidents of the Assembly. I congratulate them on their election. The vice presidents shall take precedence by age. I declare all the other candidates elected as vice presidents of the Assembly. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of members of committees. The candidatures for general committees of the Assembly have been published as document committees 2024-01 and Addendum 1. Are these proposals approved? The proposed candidatures are approved and the committees are appointed accordingly. Before we examine the draft agenda, the Assembly needs to consider requests for debates under the urgent and current affairs procedures. The Bureau has received the following: a request for debate under the urgent procedure of the situation of the children of Ukraine, requested by political groups. At its meeting this morning, the Bureau decided to recommend to the Assembly to hold the urgent debate on the situation of the children of Ukraine. Does the Assembly agree to the Bureau's recommendation to hold an urgent debate on the situation of the children of Ukraine? So the Bureau's recommendation is accepted, and the request for urgent procedure is therefore approved. It is proposed that the debate will take place on Thursday, 25th of January, as set out in the draft agenda, and be referred to the Committee of Social Affairs, Health and Sustainable Development for report, and to the Committee of Migration, Refugee and Displaced Persons. The next item of business is the adoption of the agenda for the first part of the 2024 ordinary session. The draft agenda submitted for the Assembly's approval was adopted by the Bureau this morning. I remind members that we have just agreed one debate under the urgent procedure. The debate under the urgent procedure will take place on Thursday, 25th of January, as I said, in the provisional agenda. We also have to consider the challenge to credentials accepted this morning. The Bureau proposes that the report be considered on Wednesday, the 26th of January.
It's a mistake.
Okay.
Wednesday,
24th of January. Is the draft agenda as amended agreed to? It is agreed to. So, yes. Now we're the adoptions of the meetings. The minutes of the meeting of the Standing Committee in Vaduz on 28 November 2023 have been distributed as document AS per 2023 PV04. I invite the Assembly to take note of these minutes. So, the next item on the agenda is the debate on the progress report of the Bureau and the Standing Committee, presented by Mr. Tini Cox. This will be combined with consideration of the report of the Ad hoc Committee of the Bureau on the observation of the early parliamentary election in Serbia on 17th of December 2023, presented by Mr. Stefan Sena. The debate will resume in the afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Now I call Mr. Tini Cox to present the progress report. Dear Tini, you have 7 minutes, but since...
Thank you very much. May I first congratulate my dear colleague, Theodoros Rospoulos, as our new president. I wish him wisdom and strength, and I put full trust in him, in you, dear Theodoros, presiding Europe's so relevant and vibrant agora, as you said, to search for credible answers to often incredible challenges. May I then pay tribute to former distinguished members of the Assembly who sadly passed away recently. Amongst them are my dear friends Dick Marty and Tony Lloyd, highly respected, who made most memorable contributions to the work of the Assembly. We owe them and others of this Assembly our sincere thanks, and I would like to ask for a moment to commemorate Dick, Tony, and others. Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, in case you have specific remarks on the written information in this progress report, I will be happy to react later in the afternoon. In the past years, I appreciated to work extensively and effectively with so many of you in the Assembly, in the committees and political groups, and always with this great and precious staff. Thank you, dear Despina. Thank you all the others in the Secretariat for doing this great job, which we could not have done it by our own. I also pay tribute to the cooperation with the Committee of Ministers, with the new Liechtenstein presidency, as well as the previous presidencies of Italy, Ireland, Iceland and Latvia. As I said when taking office 2 years ago, alone we tend to be weak. Together we might show the strength needed to be relevant for Europe's oldest and broadest treaty organization for peace and prosperity. I include, of course, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe in this cooperation. I think, dear Maria, that we delivered together with the Committee of Ministers and all of the Assembly to the best of our abilities. Chers collègues, je pense que vous en conviendrez. Ces 2 dernières années, nous avons été confrontés ensemble à une période qui compte parmi les plus difficiles et les plus dangereuses que le Conseil de l'Europe et nos citoyens aient connues depuis la fin de la guerre mondiale et de la guerre froide. Le déclenchement d'une nouvelle guerre mondiale n'était plus considéré comme purement hypothétique. Du premier au dernier jour de ma présidence, notre principal objectif a été le suivant: contribuer à d'abord éviter et ensuite faire cesser cette nouvelle et horrible guerre d'agression sur le sol européen qui a déjà causé la mort de dizaines de milliers de soldats et de civils et qui a poussé des millions de citoyens ukrainiens, notamment les femmes et les enfants, à quitter leur foyer et souvent même leur pays pour trouver refuge d'ailleurs dans l'un de nos autres États membres. Dear colleagues, we did do our best, but nevertheless, we have to admit that together we failed to stop, since almost 24 months, a horrible war of aggression on European soil. May I only refer to the horrors towards millions and millions of Ukrainian citizens who have been killed, harmed, abducted. This week we will again, in the plenary, try how to help these innocent children. And I'm honored that Madam Olena Zelenska will take place in this so important debate on the children of Ukraine. Dear colleagues, I keep recalling this war of aggression should never have been started and has now to end as soon as possible. We cannot lose more people, more children, more future chances for us. We urgently need peace and we urgently need justice to everybody. To those responsible for this massacre, including the highest level of the Russian leadership, and to those who have suffered so much, I praise the Assembly and the Committee of Ministers, which did show courage when needed, when suspending and then excluding the aggressor state, and when holding the aggressor state accountable, when creating a register of damage done to the victims of this war, as a start for a decent compensation for them. Now, dear colleagues, I call again for unwavering support for the people of Ukraine. Never to consider this war as normal. It is not. It should not. It cannot. Never. Dear colleagues, this return of the war of aggression has obliged us in the whole of Europe to bring all member states together to find answers to this existential question. And I'm proud that we did it by first preparing and then organizing a historical fourth summit of heads of state and government, half May last year in Reykjavik. I am proud that we agreed on this so inspiring Reykjavik Declaration, which should from now be our new roadmap for the future of the Council of Europe, created 75 years ago. Dear colleagues, many decisions in Reykjavik taken by our heads of state and government have been inspired, at least partly, by our assembly, I dare to say. And we also inspired them after years of austerity, with the great help of the Secretary General, to a sustainable increase of the budget of this organization, including this assembly. This time, our heads of state and government have put their money where their mouths rightfully were in Reykjavik, and I thank them very much. At the end of my mandate, I know there are still so many other pressing issues for us. To mention only a few, Mr. President, we need a sustainable peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan. If not, tensions could again explode. We need a sustainable Cyprus solution instead of a continuous unstable Cyprus problem with all its dangers to the country and the neighborhood. We now need an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and a sustainable two-state solution for Israel and Palestine, two countries who are represented in this assembly, if we want to stop the bloodshed in the Middle East. We need to ensure now that the landmark Istanbul Convention will function in real terms as the golden standard for the protection of millions and millions of women and girls inside and outside Europe. And we have Osman Kavala to be released if we do believe in the rule of law instead of the rule of power. Dear colleagues, coming to an end, the challenges remain there. The changes remain big. The stakes remain high. But, dear colleagues, we cannot afford failure. Dear colleagues, I tried to do my part. I'm looking forward to see this assembly working on a new president of one. Again, I will put all my trust in him. It was an honor, a privilege, and a joy to do so. I will be happy to answer remaining questions and then ask you to approve this progress report. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, dear Tini. I shall now, dear colleagues, interrupt the debate, which will resume this afternoon. The Assembly will hold its next public sitting later this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. with the agenda which was approved this afternoon. And I invite you all to attend a brief ceremony in which our outgoing president will pass on the powers of the presidency to the president we have elected this morning. This will take place at the front of the Assembly hemicycle in the Palais. The sitting is adjourned. Thank you so much.